excited to hear what you've got to say about your in-home presentation. So I'm going to turn it over to you.
Well, thank you so much, Gina. Guys, I'm super excited to be on here. I was actually shocked when Gina asked me to do it. So it's a big job, but I'm ready. So I kind of want to dive right in because it usually takes me, I want to say right about an hour to do the in-home. I've been doing this about 2 years. I like to say I gotten pretty good. But so it's going to break down really into about 4 different things. Okay. So when you guys are in the in-home, there's 4 things. And so that's connection, green sheet, the why, and budget. Okay. So if you can get those things pretty much every time, you're not really going to have a problem. And so when I first got started, I remember telling Mike, I'd be like, yeah, Mike, I'd go to something like this, go to watch somebody doing it home. And I'd be like, yeah, Mike, this is all cool and everything, but can you just tell me what to say when somebody says that this is free? Or can you tell me what to say when, they say they want to think about it, or they say they want to talk to their family, or whatever the case may be, because I thought that there was like a secret sauce answer that you can give it to somebody and then it's going to make them change their mind and go. The cool thing about the Alliance is that they have a system, okay? And the system, if it flows correctly, you will not get those objections, okay? And it sounds crazy. I couldn't wrap my head around it either. But the thing of it is, and I had to be told, is that those objections that I was getting, I was causing them. Like I was causing them, because it would be crazy to think that all, like, nationally, we all get the same objections, but it's because of what we're saying, So what I want to do today is kind of show you how to flow through the system so that way you get those objections less. Does that make sense? In a sense where you have kind of like bumpers to fall on, and then you can always come back and we could tweak some more stuff. Okay. So really, let's start with the first one. So it's the connection part, right? So I hope that everybody has their ATM. Okay. So my ATM, it looks like this part right here. And I took out my little, whatever says Alliance training manual. I took it out and I just put this because I love sunflowers, fun fact. And one of my clients made this for me. So it's like an easy conversation starter. Okay. It doesn't mean that if you don't have a sunflower, you're not gonna make no sales. You can keep whatever's in there. Okay. I just took mine out. And what I do is when I get there, I have my lead, I have it inside this folder. And then I put this on the floor. Right. I do not have it out, nothing, because the first part about your in-home, the most important part, if nothing else, is your connection. I can't stress it enough. Okay. So your connection, it's where that first 15, 20 minutes, that's where if you're going to make a sale or not make a sale. Okay. Because it's where you're getting to know somebody. And it's usually where you figure out what has happened in their family, why they filled out the card, and all of that good stuff. Okay. So here's some good questions to ask when you're getting to know somebody. So usually I'll ask people, how they found this place, right? Wherever they're living. The houses I go to, they're not always mansions or gorgeous. So, I'm never going to throw out ingenuine compliments, but I'll say, how did you guys find this place? It's like so secluded. I love the peace. Or you want to give out like 2 or 3 compliments as well, right? And then you want to find out who they care about. And guys, when you're asking these questions, okay, ask them with intention to listen back to what they're saying, right? Because you're going to make them in these 15, 20 minutes the expert in something, right? Because you're going to expect the same respect when they make you the expert on the life side, right? So when you're getting to know them, it's, how did you guys find this place? Or if you're sitting down with a couple, how did you guys meet? Where? How did it go down? And when you ask, respond with enthusiasm. So, and if that's not really who you are, if you're more shy or something, start to get comfortable acting, because this business is all about acting. So when somebody tells you something cool, be like, whoa, that's awesome. And then ask a follow-up question, right? I see a lot of agents, and even when I got started, I was asking so many questions about so many different things. So, where did you live before this? What did you do for work? How old are your kids? You got dogs? Oh my God, blah, blah, blah. And like that kind of stuff creates a lot of anxiety. It's what makes somebody say, What's all this about?" If you guys are getting that, it's because you're so sporadic in your questions. You're not really listening, and they almost are tired of it. And that sounds like really aggressive, but they don't know what to do with everything that you're attacking them with. So if you find something, so usually I like to stay on family. So that's usually who they care about. So it's how many kids do you have? You want to get their names. Oh my God, make people feel good. Have you guys ever heard the saying? And it says, people will never remember what you say, but they will always remember how you make them feel. So my bread and butter is the final expense, right? So if I'm sitting down with a lady who's 65 and she turns around and says, her daughter is 40, I'm like, what? You got a 40-year-old? Holy cow. Or if their grandkids are older than me, I'm like, oh my God, I fit right in. I'm just trying to get them to smile. I'm trying to get them to laugh. You really want to write this acronym down. It's called SOFTEN. SOFTEN. Okay. So that's smile, right? So you want to smile. It's open posture. So however your hands are, okay. It's it's front facing. So you always want to be looking at them. If you're sitting with a couple, you're looking at them like this. It's touch. Guys, give your clients a high five. Give them a high five. Give them a nudge. Okay. But sometimes people will say like, we paid off our house. I'm like, whoa, you know how many people don't live to pay off their house? They pay off their car. You better give them a high five. They just retired. Those are accomplishments, and you need to make people feel good about them. Because sometimes, guys, like they're waiting for you. If they wanted a quote, they could just go online, right? But instead they decided to take this time with you. So don't make it just, a transaction. Make it more important. Does that make sense? Like try to do it that way. So usually when you ask people, what brought them this way, they're going to tell you it was a health condition for them or it was their family, right? And so don't stray away from those things. That's right there. You want to ask a follow-up question. Like if they move down to take care of their parents, oh my gosh, how's mom doing now? How is that? Or what's going on with them? And you change your voice and the inflection. And so, oh my gosh, well, thank God they have you, right? And keep going. Was it sudden? If they just lost somebody, they didn't have to tell you that. I hope you know. They could have kept it to themselves, but instead they decided to tell you they just lost somebody. Ask a question about it. They open the door, but you can't just barge right in. You cannot barge right in, but you gradually ask the question, what happened? Did they have something in place already, or did you have to financially? And guys, the key too is that you don't actually have to finish your questions. You can leave room, leave breath. So did you guys have to take care of that, or silence? Like, is it just your kids, or do you have other family down here? Or I do a lot of that, and they will just fill it in. And so really in that first 15, 20 minutes, guys, you are asking questions and they are doing most of the talking. And then you're asking another question that's going to get them to do more talking. Okay. And I like to say that this is where you can show the most personality, the most. Like if you guys know me, I run on energy drinks and sarcasm. Okay. So this is where I'm going to highlight both of that. Like I'm going to smile, I'm going to laugh. Like they're going to get to know me. I'm going to get to know them. And it's going to make the rest of the conversation very smooth, because we're about to go on an emotional roller coaster, but it's the gentleness that's going to guide them. Does that make sense? So when you guys are, another good question. You don't assume that they're close with their family. So if you get to their family, or let's say that they have kids, ask them if they're close with their kids before you just jump, because sometimes they're actually not close with them and you can go down a very dark rabbit hole. Okay. The idea is for you to be the energy shifter. So sometimes these people, they're on disability or their health is not great. Their family situation is not the best. And if you let it go there, and it will be negative for the rest of the conversation. So if you see a touchy subject, switch gears and talk about something else. I hope that you guys are tracking with me. And if you've been in homes before, then you know that you're trying to talk about family, occupation, recreation, and emotion. And sometimes they'll stray into politics, they stray into religion. If you guys let them go, you'll lose the whole sale. It's your job to keep the rails on and get them back on track. Okay. Keep the energy really positive. So after that 15-20 minutes, I more or less try to tie the card back. Okay. And let me say this too. It's like, you're not just chopping it up with them. You're looking for facts. I look for certain things. I look for if they're close with their children, right? I try to see if those children make decisions for them. I like to know what they're paying. Like if they got a nice car in the driveway, I like to make note of that. Big TVs on the wall, all that good stuff. Sometimes in the conversation as you're going through, they'll tell you, if it's something nice, they'll tell you, oh, it was only $100. I'm like, oh yeah, it was only $100. I'm filing that for later on when the insurance is only $60. I'm trying to get as many facts so that way I can utilize them later. Okay. On the soften part, I think we lasted at touch. The E is eye contact. Okay. You want to make sure that you're looking them right in the eyes. If you're not good at eye contact, practice. And then the last one is nod. You always want to nod so that way people are going through with you. That's how you make sure that they're tracking with you. And you can always ask that, does that make sense? What I'm doing is I'm checking your guys' temp to continue moving forward. If this didn't make sense, I'd have to back up because somewhere I'd lose you. And so it's your job to be, making eye contact with your clients, making sure that they're following with you, right? So you get that 15-20 minutes of everything. That is the most important part of the conversation. When you transition, you want it to kind of go right in the pocket. So that makes sense, why you sent this card in or why you have me out here. If it doesn't transition that easy, you've already made a friend. So like, this is one of my leads. Okay. And so his name is Ismail. Okay. So what I'll do is after I made a friend, okay, I was, Terry Edwards, he laughs at me because I'm like, when I fold this card down, this is when I clock in. Okay, the rest of the time, I was just building rapport. I was having a good old time. But this right here, when I fold this down, is game time. Flame on, if you will, right? So I get this card and I'll tell Ismail, I'll say, hey, kind of walk me through what you were thinking about when you sent this card in. And the reason why I fold this down is because you're about to go into kind of like a touchy subject and people, they'll avoid it. They'll try to look up here and all this other stuff. I give them this card like this, they try to flip it up. I'm like, oh, they print your address big for me in case your handwriting wasn't legible. But don't worry, you have one of the best ones. I flipped this baby back over. So Ismail, kind of walk me through what you were thinking about when you sent this card in here. Okay. At this point, me and Ismail, we're friends. So if he says, I wanted to make sure it was taken care of, or if he's like, I just wanted to see what it was about. I'm like, okay. So then I ask another question. I'll say, well, Ismail, this is about the state regulated programs and they're helping out with final expenses. Okay. I figured, Ismail, at 77, you would already have a program like this. Okay. I'm baiting him, right? Because I'm trying to figure out another objection, right? If you're thinking about the objections that you got, it's that I already got it taken care of. Well, I'm going to get that now and get over it now. So that way I don't go through the whole entire thing and waste my time, right? So I figured, Ismail, you already had it taken care of. When he says no, I'm going to take this sheet and I'm going to like tap him on the hand or tap him on the knee and be like, Ismail, because we're friends now. Like, well, that makes sense. Why you have me out here? It's out of a caring place. And now what am I doing? He doesn't know, but that softened tactic, I'm touching him one more time. Our connection is getting deeper one more time, right? And so he didn't really dig right here. And I don't want to dig right here. Because if you look at how I said it before, it's connection and then green sheet, right? So I want the generic answer right here. He doesn't have anything in place. Okay, that's okay. Well, that makes sense why you have me out here. We're going to see what you can qualify for, right? So this is when I finally get my ATM out. Okay. Finally, I get my ATM out. And guys, my ATM, okay, when I open it, it looks like this. Okay. So this is where, again, you're still getting, the coolest part about the connection is that it drags all the way through. Okay. So it's not you build connection and then boom, you turn it into a robot. And now you're just spewing out different facts and stuff. You keep building rapport the whole way through. Let them see you. So at this point, you can tell them your story if you have one, the life insurance story about somebody who has it or who didn't have it. You can tell them a little bit about your family. I always say, just little things. I say, my mom said I'm one of three. My mom had a boy and a girl. She had a pair and a spare. Her spare. Find something that's just gonna lighten this up. Okay. Then I tell them this next page right here. This next page, I always say like this. I put my hand around it. I'm like, guys, you're gonna fall. These are some of the programs that we work with. You're gonna fall somewhere in here based on your answers to these questions here. Okay. And so what happens here, guys, most importantly, and here's what I want you to know, is belief. When you're transitioning and you just clocked into work, it's belief. If you don't have insurance on yourself, this is going to be a very tough sale. Why? Because you don't believe in it. Because you're telling yourself, I'm going to get it soon, or let me get paid next. You're giving one of the excuses that you get from your clients, you're using it on you. And people are going to be able to feel it. People are going to be able to feel it. Your belief level has to go through the roof. So right now, when you're thinking, the people say they can't afford it or they got to think about it. If you believe that, they will too. Okay. So the reason why, and I don't know if you guys notice, but sometimes people will stop me and they'll say, why is this one circled? And I'm like, oh, that one is circled because that's the one I have. And that's the one I put my family in. I can say that though with conviction. Can you? Right? Because if it's good enough for me and my family, it should very well be good enough for you. But if you guys don't have it, that's tough. Okay. So I'm here. I'm saying you guys, there's about 30 programs, okay, that you're going to fall somewhere in here based on your answers to these questions here. Okay. Keeping it really simple. People like to be told what to do. It's why they were getting so much anxiety when they weren't sure what you were talking about or why you were here. You tell them, I'm going to get some basic information from you. Okay. We're going to talk about your health. We're going to talk about your finance and then what you need it to do. Okay. So, and then I don't stop there. I say, okay, when we're talking about your health, you got to be really, really, really specific. Okay. Like if you were taking medication before, but you're not anymore, we got to know. Okay. Any surgeries, that kind of stuff. At this point in the connection, if they were talking about your health, I hope you were actively listening. So that way you already have some of this stuff down. It's follow up. If you weren't listening, it's going to show right now. Okay. So the next one is finance. When we're talking about finance, just ballpark stuff. Just ballpark stuff. I don't need to see a pay stub. I don't need to see nothing like that. Just ballpark. Okay. And then when we talk about what you need it to do, that's when we're going to get specific again. Okay. When I say okay, that's their buy-in that they're moving forward with me. If they were not moving forward with me, I would know right then if they made a face like, or if they look at their spouse, then this is like, I did something wrong in the connection. So it's my fault. Okay. Does that mean if I do everything right, I'm going to make every sale? No, it would be a compatibility thing, a likability thing. Okay. But as far as when somebody doesn't buy insurance from me, it wasn't because they can't afford it, or it's not because they wanted to think about it. It's because they weren't or I wasn't their cup of tea, if you will. Okay. So right here, okay, I know they nodded with me. I'm going to say, okay, that's when I get out my green sheet. Okay. And so, guys, just the most important thing about this situation is you can probably, I was talking with Brian earlier, is you can get the connection and the green sheet. Actually, if those are the only three things you can get, okay, it's the connection and the green sheet, right? Because in the connection, more or less, you know who they care about, you know why they wanted it. The why wouldn't be as important. But if you didn't connect really well, then your next green sheet and your why have to be so on point. It's not even crazy. Okay. So can you do me a favor, Karina? Can you grab that thing right there? Yes. So the green sheet, if you guys haven't seen it before, okay, it looks like this. Okay. I fill out my green sheet the same way every time. I do it in my sleep. Okay. I'm still at this point want to show personality, want to keep being me, because when I get to the why, it's going to get a little intense. Right. And now also, guys, don't let the first time that you look at these questions be in your first appointment. I know these questions like the back of my hand now. I know the layout of this like the back of my hand. Look at it, fill it out on yourself, so that way you know how to fight through it. Okay. So I'm like, okay, Smile, how do you spell your middle name? You know, I make it so they still have to have a conversation with me, right? So Smile, how do you spell your middle name? How do you spell your last name? Okay, perfect. How tall are you? Are you shrinking? Right? And then they usually give like a little giggle, like I'm like, yeah. So it's true, huh? You shrink when you get old, whatever. If somebody's saying, if I'm like, about how much do you weigh? And they're like, I don't want to tell you. I'm like, shoot, just round down. Like whatever you can to keep it live, to keep it upbeat, do that. Okay. Are you smoking? Yes. When are you gonna quit that stuff? You know what I'm really doing is I'm like, okay, I know how much cigarettes cost. I know how much they cost. And then usually when you say that question, when are you going to quit that stuff? They'll say, well, I'm down to only half a pack a day, or I'm down to one pack a day. I'm like, okay. And that pack costs $4 and $4 times 30 days in a month. Like that's what I just did. But it seemed like such a regular question, right? Then I'm going to come down here. When I asked about Social Security, I'm like, ballpark, how much, or you're on Social Security? Yeah, ballpark, what's coming in, right? If you get right here and they're like, why do you need to know that? Then you didn't build the connection part right. They're still unsure what you're doing or why you're doing it, okay? If they tell you, boom, they should tell you with actually no problem. Sometimes you say ballpark and they'll go get you the penny. Like they pull out their checkbook and they're telling you to the penny, you're doing a good job. That's what that means, okay? This next question right here, this life insurance question, it's what you're asking, okay? If somebody has told you they already got it through work, this is where you're gonna get over that objection right now, okay? So the life insurance question goes, okay, do you currently have any life insurance outside of work that you own and control? Some people will say, no, I just have the 100,000 through work. I'm like, okay, so we don't count that. I'm going to get rid of it right now. We don't count that. Let me tell you why. Okay, so if you're going to tell them you don't count it, you better tell them why, because they're like, it's very real to me. Well, here's the thing is that what happens at your job usually is, or when you're about to retire too, that you have this life insurance all the way through. And then when you retire, they say, okay, thank you so much for your time. Give me my benefits back. Right? Don't get, so the thing of it is that it's usually not yours. So we don't count that because you could, if you got laid off, if you decided to quit, when you retire, if the company went under. So if you have it, that's awesome. A lot of places don't even offer it, but here we're not going to count it. Okay. Okay. We move forward. On your Social Security people, they're not really going to have that issue, but just make sure when you're talking to younger people, that's how you eliminate that objection right there. Okay. So now, do you own your home? This is what I was talking about, guys, before. Like, if you own this home, oh my gosh. Sometimes I'll figure out, like, if I own, I'm like, heck yeah. Oh my gosh. What does this place usually go for? Right now the market is high. So, golly, that's incredible. You make people feel good the whole time. I can't express it enough, but they need to enjoy speaking with you. Okay, it's so crucial. They need to like you and they need to trust you, right? So now, about how much do you pay a month for this place? Okay. Now, like I said, my bread and butter is final expense. So this 77-year-old, him and the bank still owns the house, and it's he owes 300,000 left. Is he about to get a $300,000 policy? I know more likely no. Especially when we get to the health side, I know that no, and you got to know that too. So you don't steer the conversation where I want the house to be paid off. We're talking about time. So we want to preserve the equity that's in his house. So you want to take note of what it's worth versus what he owes, and then what he has to pay a month. Now that for new people, that can get a little tricky, but just know, like, don't let people get so caught up in telling you, well, I want 300,000. No. What he's really saying when we get to the why is like, I want to keep my family in this house, or I want my family to get the full value of the house. And so it's your job to just not let him get stuck on the number. Okay. All right. Now you come over here. Any big debts? You know how many people live on plastic credit cards? Any big debts? I don't have no debts. Some people will say, I say, if I can't afford it in cash, I can't afford it. I'm like, that's right. You remind me so much of my grandpa, man. Like, blah, 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 blah. Whatever you can, again, feel good. Okay, now you get right here. And most people, at least for me, when I was first filling this out, I wouldn't even get here. I'd just be like, whoop, let's go talk about your health. But this is so important. This is how you get the other safe money. This is how you serve people, tenfold, right? So right here, when I'm talking about final expense, I'll say, all right, Ismail, right now with nothing in place, where are you keeping your cushion to offset your final expenses? Where are your savings? Where is your 401k? Where is your annuities? I don't have none of that stuff. Oh my God. Right? And when he's saying whatever happened to it, I'm remembering. If he spent it on health stuff, if he spent it on, if it went down in the market, whatever the case may be, I'm remembering. Why? Not because I'm remembering to make the sale, but I'm remembering because I care. Like, I need you guys to get into the habit of, like, really caring about the people, because that's going to change your whole mindset. Like, I'm going to sell this person. No, I'm going to help this person. And it's a belief. Like I said before, it's a belief thing, right? So now you're here. They tell you everything. If they don't want to tell you what's in their bank, you can honestly pack it up, because you did not connect and they don't trust you. Okay, if they tell you about 10,000, okay, you are a doctor. You have seen it all. You have done it all. You've seen $0 in the bank. You've seen $2 million in the bank. Who are you to say this money's for something else, and they don't want to use that money for their final expenses, or they don't want to use that money for whatever. Okay. So if they have money in the bank, I'm going to get over that objection too, because I'm going to ask them, what is that for? Right? So they have 10,000 in the bank. Okay, let me ask you, Ismail, because I'm gonna get over that objection before it comes up. Like, I already have the money in the bank. Ismail, what is that money for? And then he'll say it, right? Or if I'm like, Ismail, help me understand. You have the 10,000 in the bank. Why even go through a program like this? How am I asking it though, right? So he's gonna say, oh, that's for this. It's not for that. Does that, like, that's for my son? Oh, okay. So this money right here, that's money for your kids. So that's their inheritance. You want to keep your final expenses separate. Then I'm going to let him say yes, because I'm going to get clarification. So that way, when I'm getting down to the why, again, it's not about the money they had in the bank. It's not about talking to my kids. It's not about, they're 77 years old. When people say, Oh, they thought it was free. They have never, understand, they have never gotten anything free in their life. Not once. And I used to believe it. I used to really believe them instead of thinking like, dang, they probably didn't like me, or I didn't help them see the value. I didn't help them see what was going to happen without it. Right. So right here, it seems like if you're not listening, then it seems like you're just asking about their money, but really you're getting ahead of that other objection right there. Right. So now we've gotten over a couple already, and we're not even at the health portion yet. So now on the health side down here, okay, if I'm like, I realize that saying, how's your health? That's a very bad question. It's a bad question because, like I always have the guy that has the cannula in his nose with the cigarette in his mouth. And he's like, it's fine. My health is great. It's not that. Okay. So you want to say, okay, hey, Ismail, are you taking any medications? Right. And we don't want Ismail to shoot off the top of his head. We don't want him to just start spewing out the medications. Why? Because he's going to forget some. He probably doesn't know what they are. As I'm about to write them down, like, whoa, 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 whoa. I don't know how to spell that stuff. Go grab them out for me. You sure you want them all? I ain't scared. I'm not going to make him feel bad about anything, but him and I both know that he is not healthy. Does that make sense? Like, I don't have to say he's not healthy. I don't have to say nothing like that. But when he's saying, I have a lot, oh, I ain't scared. Bring him out. And then what I'm going to do, guys, is I Google them right in front of them. There's no Google them. Okay. And as you do this more, what will happen is you'll realize that if everybody walked outside with their medication bin, they could all share medications because they're all the same. Like you're going to see the same medication over and over. I feel like this may be a stretch, but I feel like I could be a doctor. But like I know the medications like the back of my hand. So when I see one that's like for 3 things, let's say, a medication that's for seizures, anxiety, and depression, I'm like, okay, hey, Ismail, have you had a seizure? Like, are you having seizures? No. Okay. Have they said like anxiety or depression? Then he'll say, oh yes, anxiety. Okay. Anxiety. Okay. I call everything anxiety. Schizophrenia, anything in the brain, everything is anxiety to me. I know that I'm going to really write schizophrenia, but I don't need him to feel bad. If that makes sense. Okay. Even after he brings me the medications, I'm still going to go head to toe. I'm very thorough. And I tell him, I'm like, I'm very thorough. Okay. And if they have sat down with somebody else, they're like, the last person that asked us, I'm like, I'm a girl, you know how we are. We just like to get down to it. Okay. And I'm just going to keep getting them to smile just a little bit, like me a little bit more, and trust me because I'm being so thorough, which means I care. Okay. So Ismail, are you taking anything else for anxiety? No. How's your heart attacks, stents, anything like that? How's your lungs? I don't even know, guys. I want you to know. I don't even know if my hands are in the right places for my body parts, but they believe me and I'm going to stick to it. Okay. Because half the time they bring out those pill bottles, they don't bring out those inhalers. So when you say, how are your lungs? Are you taking any inhalers? All of a sudden they're like, yes. Right. Because I've been down that road where I already got the application already started and then they tell me they got an inhaler. We're just going to get ahead of that right now. Okay. Also, if you've ever gone all the way through and you found out they didn't have a bank, you would find out right here if they didn't have a bank right here. Okay. So anyhow, get back to it, body. I'm like, okay, are diabetes, anything like that? What about the tingles in your feet? I don't call it neuropathy because they don't even know it's neuropathy. Tingles in your feet, anything like that? How are your kidneys? How are your liver? Good, good. Okay. Are you taking anything for this? Any surgeries? When I say there's a last question on here, it says criminal history. I'm like, what criminal history? DUIs. I say, no, I'm like, your party days are behind you, huh? They'll say, oh yeah, I got stories. Like, again, I'm just trying to make people feel good. And you can say the same things to everybody. You'll get into a habit and it's not going to come out like manipulative or anything like that. It's just a very easy way for you to get to know them. I really wish my doctor would treat me like that when I go. You know what I mean? So now that I did this, okay, and I know their children's names, right? Because in the connection, I use their children's names. If you're paying attention, guys, I picked his lead, but I've used his name so much. Use people's names all the time. All the time. Why? Because it's their favorite word. It's going to be my favorite word for the rest of the appointment, right? Okay. So on the next sheet, guys, when you're saying the next sheet, after you do the green sheet, the next page in my ATM, it says, why is this important? Okay. This is where you get to the why. So you had fun with them, you're laughing, blah, blah, blah. Okay, now we're going to get to the why. This why part is so crucial. Like, it's so big, because sometimes people will tell you exactly what they want. They'll tell you exactly what you thought they wanted to pay, and then they don't sign, and it's like, what? I got them exactly what they wanted, but we didn't build enough value. We didn't have enough urgency, like now, yesterday. It's I was thinking about it today. I was like, it's the same reason why like car people, they let you test drive the car so you can really get a feel for it, right? Okay, we really, really want to get a feel for when they have this in place and when they don't. Does that make sense? We want them to feel, okay, what's going to happen tomorrow without it, right? So I say, all right, Ismail, so people fill this out for one of 4 reasons. I'm not getting creative. It's right in here. Okay. It's usually 4, it doesn't deviate. It's to help pay off a mortgage. Your house is paid off, so that couldn't be it. Right. To replace lost income. So that's if somebody is financially dependent on your income. To pay off final expenses, cover children's expenses or debt, or to leave a legacy for your loved ones. Right. And so in the first part of it, he may have said, I want to make sure my final expenses are taken care of, not even realizing that you could also leave a legacy. So do not cap people. Do not say, well, cremations are $3,000, so you need a $3,000 policy and blah, blah, blah. Like, you don't need to do that. Let them answer, right? So sometimes I'll get, well, I want to do 3 and number 4, pay off final expenses and leave a legacy. I'm like, wow. Okay, so I know you want to get that taken care of. Okay, but help me understand, who's going to be in charge when something happens to you? Get a name, right? Probably my son, Joseph, whatever the case may be. So I'm like, okay. So right now, Ismail, and now my tone is going to change. Everything's about to change. And I'm going to sit different. I'm going to lean in, right? So Ismail, I know you want to get this taken care of, but help me understand, if you were to pass away tomorrow with no insurance in place, emotionally, I can't even imagine for Joseph. But financially, what does that look like for him? If they say, my kids, well, he can afford it. I know you guys, if you've been in homes, you know that somebody has got, well, then call their bluff. Well, Ismail, if Joseph could afford it, why? And you don't need to finish. Why even? Well, it's not his responsibility. And when they're telling you this stuff, guys, this is when I go into writing mode. Okay, no matter what they say, if their kids can't afford it, if they can't afford it, I'm writing it down. Okay, so Ismail, help me understand financially. What does that look like for Joseph? Oh, I don't know. What do you think? And then it's a game. Who talks first? So my pen is ready. Well, what do you think? If he says, he probably can afford it. Okay, so if he can afford it, why even? It's not his It's not. I'm just gonna write. It's not his responsibility. And then if you stay quiet, they'll say something else, like, why should he have to pay for it? Right. And then okay, I always get the story of whether their parents did it for them. All right. So I'm like, did your dad or your parents do that for you? Whether they say yes or no, I don't really care, right? Because I can use either one. If they say yes, I'm like, wow, so you're telling me that your dad took care of everything for you, and now you want to do the same for your son? Where you didn't have any financial turmoil, you just got to grieve in peace. That's huge. That's called edifying, right? If vice versa, right? So if he says his son can't afford it, I don't stop there. I say, well, if he can't afford it, what is he gonna do? Quiet. Okay, well, what are his options? The idea is for him to say, um, I don't really have any other options. Okay, so besides doing an insurance program like this, there's no other options, right? Okay, like he's saying it to me. I'm just getting to say it back because I'm really listening to him, and he's really at this point realizing that his son may not have any other options. Does that make sense? And if his parents didn't do it for him, didn't cover it, then I'm like, wow, Ismail, so you already, you've seen it firsthand what not having this all squared away looks like, and you don't want to put your son through that same kind of, you get what I'm saying? Like, he's gonna feel good about either one, because that's either your dad showed you what an incredible dad is, right? Or you're going to do something in spite of him. So people do things because of their parents or in spite of their parents. So because his dad did it for him, he's going to do it for his kids, or because his dad didn't, he's going to make sure his kids never go through that. And that right there in itself is tremendous. Because there's so many people who don't care what happens to their kids. There's so many people who don't care who's holding the bill. So I want to help the people who do care. That makes sense. So it's like, wow. So how would you feel knowing that when you pass away, all this is going to be taken care of? He's not going to have to worry about a thing. Oh my God, that's going to be amazing. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, now are you just wanting to make sure the final expenses are taken care of, or are you trying to leave a little extra? I'm trying to leave a little extra. He's telling me, like, guys, if you can get into where people are buying, you aren't selling, it's going to feel completely different. And I promise you, you will know when you connected really well. You will know when you got the green sheet. You will know when you got the real why. You will feel it, and you'll know when you don't. Like, if you can go through this in like 2 minutes, then you didn't really do it. Okay. So at this point, when you're brand new, my team or any of the new agents really in this area, I tell you to call. Okay. Because there is about, and Gina can probably tell you more, there's like 10 right answers for every home. 10 right answers. So when you call, honestly, your upline is just going to pick their favorite or the one you're contracted with, but don't fight them. Okay. And when you call, it's not about a quote. It's not about a quote. When you call, you are calling to give the why back. You're calling to say exactly what happened. So like if I was calling, I would call Mike, but before I do, you got to edify Mike. So if you guys don't know Mike, I would always say it like this, and to bring the mood back up, I'd say, hey, okay, Ismail, here's what I'm going to do. Okay. I want to make sure that you and your family are in the best program. So I'm going to call my product specialist. He's about 100 years old. He's been doing this a long time. And they laugh. And I'm like, okay, he's been doing this a while, and he's going to be able to tell me which is going to be the best one for you guys. Okay. So when I get on the phone with Mike and say, hey, Mike, Ismail filled out this card because right now he doesn't have anything in place. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to read back to Mike what all Ismail just said to me. Okay. He doesn't have anything in place. And if he were to pass away tomorrow with no insurance, then his son, so-and-so, insert name, his son, so-and-so, either he can afford it, but Ismail really doesn't think it's his responsibility and would much rather get this taken care of himself, and blah, 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 blah. Or his son could not afford it. And right now, I mean, he doesn't really have any other options. He'd probably have to borrow the money, and whatever he just said to me, right? And then I don't finish that. I'm like, and he already seen what he went through with his parents, and he does not want to do that to his son. Or, his dad made it so easy for him, so he's just wanting to do the same for his family. Okay. So at this point, you guys, if if you've ever gotten off the phone with your upline and the person was like, I just wanted to see what my options are. That means when you called your upline or, whomever it was, you said, I'm going to call and see what your options are. You must have said it, because I know that I've said it before. I don't say what your option, no, which program is going to be the best for you, because now we know which one is going to be the best for you. There's really no question moving forward. Now that I know you don't have any options, there's no question or there's no pushback moving forward, right? And so the other thing on there, so it was connection, green sheet, edify, budget, right? It becomes a very simple question. It's Mile, how much can you invest, right, monthly in a program that's going to make sure that Joseph doesn't da 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 da, or to make sure that Joseph blah 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 blah. I don't know. Show me the numbers. I tell them, just like, I'm not that kind of girl. I'm not. We could look at 300. We could look at 500. And then they're like, whoa, I can maybe do a 50. Well, 50 is great. Like, we just need a number. I need a number. So that way it's not about can't afford it. Because if you gave me 50, you know what I'm saying? Like, you chose that number. So there's no question. There's no confusion. There's nothing, right? We're calling Mike. Mike is going to tell me the best program. We're going to give you which ones are the best in this budget, right? And so when you have it, 10, 15, 20,000, $100, $80, and then whatever it was, obviously if he said 50, I wouldn't go this high, but whatever it is, I'm just going to put that there. I'll say, okay, now this is going to be the best one for you. Okay. Now, and then I don't say it's 10,000. I never describe the money like that. I say, so this is going to cover your burial and probably leave a little extra. Maybe, with the way inflation is going, this will probably cover the burial, but Joseph doesn't have to come out of pocket. Okay. This middle option here, the burial is definitely covered, and he will probably have a little something, take care of any last minute expenses, that kind of stuff. This over here is going to be plenty. He's going to have enough to, take care of. He's going to have enough for this, right? And that's the way I describe money. Why? Because I'm still having him test drive this car. I'm still having him feel it out. It's not about his smile right now. It's about his son. It's all about his son. Everything he's doing right now in this moment is for his son. And then I'm going to slide this little card over to them. And which one, after I say whatever, which one are you leaning the most toward? There's nothing to think about. There's nothing to think about, because we're not making a decision. We're just leaning toward one. Like, so all of these are like, now if you guys can see, if you're looking at your objections, you're like, oh shoot, all right, that makes sense, or that makes sense. Which one are you leaning the most toward? Once they say whichever they're leaning the most toward, it's just a matter, grab your ID. There's no, well, now that you chose one, you want to fill out an application? No, you chose one, grab your ID for me. And my hand goes up. Boop, boop, boop. There's no in between, right? And then I go back to small talk, because I'm going to grab the ID. We're going to have a little chit chat. Now, I've had it before where they're like, and Gina talked about it, now you're sitting with a guy, he's on oxygen, right? And I'm always going to use oxygen because it's just easy. He's on oxygen. He is looking at $5,000, $7,000, and $10,000. Like, what is this? Or what's that going to do? And I'm like, I look at them like they're crazy. Like, if somebody gave me $10,000 right now, what? But you got to believe. And I'm like, so 10,000, I'm sorry, what are you comparing it to? Because if you're thinking about 50,000, 100,000, no, you need to compare it to zero. So it's a matter of something is better than nothing. And when he just said all of this stuff for his son, so what are you going to do? You didn't have any other options. It's so hard to backtrack. Now, you can't go through all that feeling good about this and then be like, well, I can't. It doesn't work. I promise you guys, it doesn't work. And you need, if you built that relationship in the beginning, you have relationship cash to call them out. I want to think about it. Brian says all the time, you're 82 years old. What's there to think about? You've been thinking about it for 40 years. There's nothing to think about. If I imagine, and I'm always assuming that we found it in your budget, right? We found it in your budget as much as you can to take care of what you want. How do you not get signed up? If they don't, that's on them. That's between them and their wife. It was not a budget thing. It was not this. It was not that. It was a likability thing. And they will pay for that in their own way. But at this point, you guys, you called them out. You called them out. You've done all you can to help this family. Does that make sense? And so like one time I had this guy, he told me, he said, well, if I can't pay off my whole house, then I don't want it. And I was like, you know what? Like, okay, let me ask you something. If I had a box of pizza, let's say I had a pie of pizza, right? And you were homeless and I gave you a slice, or I offered you a slice, and you told me, well, I don't want the slice of pizza if I can't have the whole thing. What would you say? And he was like, oh, well, that guy would be stupid. I'm like, that's one way to say it. And he's like, ungrateful. I'm like, that guy is going to die hungry as hell. I don't know if I can tell. He's going to die very hungry because he's stubborn. Like, take this and take it now because you need it, right? So the next part, guys, like if you think about that in a sense where the whole thing's mostly connection, small sliver is green sheet, bigger portion is the why. The application takes about 5 minutes. It's an ID, don't get all query and weird on your application part. It's very simple. It's, you got their driver's license, you're copying their name, you're copying this, and it's like, hey, what's your social? I don't like to give that out. I know. What's your social? Like, we have to. There could be so many, Michelle Kolin, they got to match you to your medical records. Okay, social. Okay, who do you bank with? Okay, you like them? I say the same things every time. Yeah, they haven't caused me no trouble. Okay, awesome. Can you go ahead and get those routing numbers for me? Can you get the routing? Can you get the account? Can you go ahead and grab me? My hand goes up. Can you get me a voided check? Guys, when I tell you, if you're getting pushback on something, you're doing something weird. You're like, can I have your bank account? No, I'm not giving you my bank account. Not when you look like this is the first bank account you've ever touched. Like, make sure that you make it seem like you've done this 100 times. If they are weird to give you their bank account, but they told you how much was in their account, it's like, Ismail, what are you doing? I already know what's in there. Give it to me. Like, but you are their friend. They shouldn't happen. I call everything when they're about to sign, like, let me get 2 autographs from you. Yeah, this is going to cost you whatever you can to get them to just smile a little bit, make this a little bit more easy. 2 autographs right here. Boom, boom. All right. And then after that, I'm like, how do you feel? Good? Yeah, I feel a lot better. Okay, awesome. Like, I put my phone number in there. I put life insurance, Michelle. How many Michelles you have in your life? None. Ha, yes. How many Michelles you have in your life? How do they spell it? Whatever it is, I'm just trying that one more time. We're going to take a nice picture. I'm going to put it as the contact photo for when I call. I want them to know that they matter to me. And they're going to matter to me, not just then, but in a year from now when we do a review, when I'm talking to their family with their ERS. Like, all of it matters. All of it. And like, if I could say, like, if you guys take away anything, just get really, 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 really good at connecting with people. And if you're thinking about when they're talking about their health and you're thinking about the products you're going to sell them, you might as well walk out. And I've done that. If you're thinking about the next question you're going to ask and you're not listening, walk out. You have to be present. You have to listen. You have to care. If you can do those 3 things, you are going to make a lot of money because you're going to help a lot of people. And those people are going to refer you to other people. And your business is going to blow up. So I looked at it now. So 155. Woo! That's pretty good. I'm going to look to see. I have not looked to see if there's any questions or anything in there. But you know, guys, that's pretty much the in-home presentation in a nutshell. If you notice, the entire 45 minutes, I didn't say anything about a product, not one, because they don't matter. Like, as long as it does what the person wants it to do, they'll go anywhere because they like you and they trust you, and you wouldn't put them in a bad situation. So, anyway, Gina, I don't know if,
Hey, Michelle. Yeah, I didn't see any questions come up in the chat. So awesome job. Thank
perfect.
you so much. That was amazing. And I'm sure that helped a ton of people. So thank you very, very much.
You're so welcome. Thank you so much for having me on here, guys. It was awesome.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody. Have a great rest of your day.